In this video, we are going to get started on listing all the different properties that we have within our database. Okay, so remember we imported all the different properties within this properties.json file. Okay, so we have around 8 properties, so we will be displaying all the properties within the property page. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a route for that. And if you remember how to create routes in Next.js, we go to the app directory, and inside that we nest a file inside another folder by the route name, and then define a page.tsx. okay, and that's the content which will be rendered on the screen. All right, so let's create a folder called properties. Okay, and over there inside I need to create a page.tsx. all right, so now let's sketch out a component, and for now I'm just going to call this properties. Okay, and I'm just going to paste in here the same name, okay, of properties, so that we just see some content over there if it is actually working or not. So now if I just go back to my browser and just go to /properties, we should be able to see this content. Okay, so when you go to /properties, you should be able to see the text of properties. Okay, so later in this video we'll also be removing this hero section, which is not relevant for the properties page. Okay, so we'll only be having the header, and this is only be shown on the home page. Okay, so I just forgot to remove this for rest other pages, so we'll be doing this later. So now let's focus on listing all the different properties. Okay, so this is the demo application that I built. So this is how we will be listing all the different properties side by side. Okay, so we'll be having filters on the left side and all the different properties on the right side. Okay, so this layout is going to be horizontal. Okay, unlike the cards that we built for the featured properties in the last video, right? So we are not going to create a separate component for this. We are just going to modify that a little bit so that it will display this cards in the form of a horizontal layout. Okay, so now let's go back and start customizing this page, and for now I can give this a class name of sticky container. Okay, I'll just come back to what exactly these class names means. Okay, and also it is defined within the globals.css just to make the card scrollable and make the other content sticky. Okay, so that we do not have two scroll bars, one is for the properties and one is for the whole page, so that will be a very bad experience of users, right? So that's why we are going to do this. I'll also explain what does that actually mean. So sticky container, and I'm going to give it some margin on the top, and inside this I'm going to use and design grid. Okay, so on the left side we are going to display all the filters for these properties, and then on the right side we are going to list all the properties. Okay, so for that let's use the and design row. Okay, and inside this row let's give a gutter of 16 by 16 so that we have some padding between items. Okay, so 16 is for horizontal and the 16 is for vertical, and we just need to wrap this for responsiveness, and inside this row we are going to render a column. Okay, so for the first column we are going to display the filters which will take 1/3 of the width. Okay, so remember what I told, for extra small screens it has to take the entire width, and for medium screens and above it has to take 1/3 of it. Okay, so that is going to be 8, and let's close this up, or let's also give a class name of scrollable column. Okay, so since this is going to be scrollable, we are applying this class name, and I'll also show you what exactly does that mean. And scrollable dash column. Okay, so inside this I'm just going to just render out the name called filters. Okay, so in the next video we are going to work on the filter functionality. So for now we are just going to keep a placeholder, so filters. Okay, so this is for the first column. Let's now move to the second column and display all the properties. Okay, so let's display that column, and for this again it's going to be extra small screens 24, and for medium screen size it's now going to be 16. Okay, so 2/3 is 16, right? So and we do not need to wrap for this. Let's inside this column. So inside this before we display all the properties, we are going to show a drop down for the sort option. Okay, either we want to sort it by price or by price, like from low to high or high to low. So let's give a drop down for that. So for that let's use a form element from and design. Okay, so form dot item. So if you want to list out a form item, and inside that we are going to give a label of sort by, okay, and giving it a name of again sort by, okay. So this is going to be sort underscore by, okay, and giving it a class name of margin bottom of 1, which is 1 rem. All right. So and inside this form dot item we are going to use a select element from and design, okay. So select from Andy, and inside this we are going to give a default value of latest, okay. So default value, so by default it is going to be latest, okay. So it will be sorted by the latest properties, okay. So we will be seeing all the latest properties on the top. So let us give the value of latest. So this is the value of it, okay. So we need to assign that, and then we have the placeholder, so that is going to be sort by. All right, and then we are going to give an on change handler, okay. So for this on change handler, this will actually update the state, okay. So this will cause a re-render for a properties page, and it will fetch the properties again, like with the sorted values. So let's create a state right about the return statement called as sort order, and then set sort order, and set this equal to use state, okay. So we are the default value which we are going to give is latest, okay. So like so, and then we are going to assign this on change handler, like saying that on change, which will take in the value directly, okay. So it doesn't have the t dot target dot value. So for and design select element we get the value directly. So value, and set this equal to set sort order, and set this equal to the value itself, okay, like this. And let's move on now with the options, okay. So these are the options which we will be passing in the form of an array, okay. So options, not inside this. So okay, so inside this we are going to show an array of options. Like first is the label, we need to define the label and the value for it, okay. So label will show the actual the text, okay, but the value will be something, could be something else, okay. So the label is going to be like, let's say, capital L with latest, but the value is going to be just with a smaller letter, okay. So value, that is latest, okay. So this value will be sent to the database of this smaller case latest, okay. And then let's duplicate this few more times, and let's give this for price, that is high, low to high, okay. And then price high to low, okay. And the value is going to be ascending or descending, okay. So like this. So these values will go to the database and make a query, okay. So let's close out the select element, okay. So that's done. Now let's have a look. So if I go to properties and refresh, I should be able to see the, okay. So yeah, so I just forgot to you mark the component as use client, okay. Since we are using React hooks, remember that. So this will only run on the client side and not on the server side. So we need to explicitly say Next.js that run this only on the client side and not on the server side. So use client, and if I save this error should go away, okay. So now we should be able to see that drop down over here, but it's very large because I forgot to give the container class, and we see the filters. So yeah, so I think I need to like give this a particular width to display this, and let's do that. So right before the starting div, let's give a wrap this with a class name of container, which I think I forgot, okay. And within this let's close this div up at the bottom, and yeah, so inside this container again let's give the title of properties, okay. So let's give a h1 tag of class name heading, and let's print out properties. Okay, and we should be able to see the changes now. So yeah, there we go. So we have the properties and we get some spacing on the left and the right. Okay, so and also let's reduce the width of the sort by, and yeah, so and also we are going to display the breadcrumbs, okay, which I think I forgot to show. Yeah, this is the breadcrumb area which shows us the actual path of this properties where we are visiting this page. Okay, so this is also a good feature to add on. So we also get the breadcrumbs inbuilt from and design, so we just need to import that and just pass in some options and that will display that. So let's go right below this container class and let's right below this properties, and let's import the breadcrumb from and design. Okay, so you see that you also get suggestions, and within this we are going to give this a class name of flex center. So we want to center the breadcrumb area, right? Flex dash center, and we are going to pass the items. Okay, so this is going to be an array of items which will contain two different properties. One is the title and one is the href attribute, which means that whenever we click on this, it should take us to that particular page, right? So let's define that, and this is going to be an array of objects of title first, and this is going to be home, and the next one is the href. So this should go to the home route, right? So slash, and then then we need to do for the properties as well. So title is going to be properties, and the we do not need to pass in the href route, okay, since we are already in the property page. Okay, so now let's close this up and we should be able to see some changes now. If I refresh, yeah, there we go. So we get the home and then the properties. Okay, so it's as simple as that. It's very to use, easy to use, like just import and pass in some options, and you will be able to just build some components without any hassle. So now let's first of all reduce the width of this. So I have given the width of this drop down box to 200 pixels, so that we do not get the entire width of that. Okay, and also we get the drop down. So you see that price from low to high and high to low. Okay, so these are the options that we provided, and latest one is the default value. Okay, so this class of sticky column has a position of sticky. Okay, so we want the filters that we apply to be sticky. Okay, even though how much ever we scroll, so that we see whatever the filters been applied, and I've given the position of top is 0, and it is aligned as flex start, and the overflow is auto. Okay, so that if we have a long list of filters, that also can be scrollable, and that will be fixed at the top. Okay, I hope that made sense. And also, like, if the minimum width is 768, which means that it is medium screens and above, so we will be applying this class name of scrollable column. Okay, we do not want this to be applied for mobile screens, so that is why we are giving a media query here. So this will be applied for medium screens and above with a height of like 70 window height. Okay, so 70% of your viewport height. So then we have the overflow y as auto, so that will actually make that container scrollable. Okay, so that is only on the y axis, and the sticky container itself, the whole container has a height of 60 viewport height. Okay, so you can just play around with this if you don't understand what exact classes are being applied. Okay, so this is like completely out of the scope, like this course is like not about CSS, so if you would like to play around, you can play around. If not, you can just copy paste the exact code. Okay, so I hope it's clear up to now how to build such components from and design, and like now let's move on to listing all the different properties. Okay, so the first step to display all the properties is to make the request to the database. Okay, so remember there's a caveat here. So since I have marked this component as use client, so I cannot directly make a call to the database and get all the properties. Okay, so this would eventually give an error. So what we are going to do now is we are going to create a server action. Okay, so server action is a new feature which is introduced in Next.js 14 specially. Okay, so that we can talk to the database directly, even though we are in a client component, and then fetch all the data that we want by passing some some options, right? So for now we cannot do just like we did for the home page, like getting all the featured properties. So since this is already a server component, we could do that. So now let's create a particular file to define all of our server actions, okay? And over there that we are going to import all of that within our file, which uses a client component like this, okay? So now let's go within the root of our application and create another folder over there called actions, or what would be a good name for this? Okay, so let's go with actions, and inside that let's create a index.ts file. Okay, so not index, it's index. Okay, so inside this file the first step is to mark this component as a server component. Okay, so not server component, but to make a component like act as a server action. So in this file we will be defining all the different server actions, okay, in the form of functions. Okay, so we need to tell Next.js that this is going to be a server component, so we just mark this component as use server. Okay, let's create our very first server action by defining a function. So let's call that get properties, so like this, and inside this function let's mark this component as async function. Okay, so we are making database queries, right? So we need to use async await. So inside this we are going to open our try catch block as usual, which we will use in any probably Node.js applications. So now let's make a query to our database by defining a variable called properties, and set this equal to await, that is db. Okay, so let's import db, by the way, that's auto imported dot property dot find many. Okay, so this will find all the different properties, but now we only want to get all the properties whose value of is sold is false. Okay, so we do not want to show all sold properties, right? So we have also defined that property within our Prisma file, that is like is sold. So this is by default false, so we want to only show all those properties that are not sold, right? So let's give that property, like we can give a where clause inside this, saying that the property of is sold should should be false. Okay, like this, and finally let's console log the error in the catch statement. Okay, so all of this will not be displayed on the browser, it's just on the server side, which any user or anyone cannot see that. Okay, so let's use a console.error, it doesn't matter. Okay, so let's finally export this function, so that is get properties. All right, and yeah, so I just also need to send in the response, right? So let's return the properties. Okay, so our server action is done. Only thing is we need to import this get properties within our client component and make a request. Okay, so now let's use the use effect hook in order to get all the properties by making a call to this server action. Okay, so I'm going to import use effect. So inside this we are right now going to fetch all the different properties. Okay, so let's open our try catch block, and within this try block I'm going to await on the fetch properties. So let's auto import that fetch or get properties, right? I defined that as get properties, that is coming from actions. Okay, and within this we are just going to invoke this. Okay, and we are going to store this within a variable called properties, and let's equal this, and we need to make this function an async function. So we cannot directly mark this use effect function as an async function. Okay, so inside this we are going to define another function and mark that particular function as asynchronous. Okay, so let's say const get properties, or get properties already defined, right? So let's call this fetch properties, and set this equal to an async function. Alright, so finally we can just call this fetch properties like so. Okay, so this function is marked as async and we do not get that error anymore. And now we need a state to hold all these different properties that we are getting from database. So let's create a state for that. So let's use const properties set properties. Okay, so and the type for this use state is going to be that property with images, okay, which we already defined in the last video. So we extended the property model with our images, right? So let's also import that and assign the type for this. So property with images, yeah, it's over here. And let's close this up. And yeah, so the initial value is going to be an empty array. Okay, and let's now finally set the properties to this properties that we are getting. Okay, so yeah, again the same error. So let's take care of that later. So now let's console log the error, or console.error of this saying that error fetching properties. And pass in the error itself. And yeah, so everything looks good. And now let's finally just look for this error. So I think I also forgot to add in the image model for the properties that we are fetching. Okay, so also let's include the images. So maybe that is why we are getting that error. Include the property of images, the model I mean, and set this to true. Okay, and let's give a comma here. Okay, so still that error. So this is going to be an array of property with images. Okay, so that error should go away. And yeah, so one thing I forgot to do within my server action is to throw the error. Okay, so this will terminate the request to the database. So throw this error that we are getting, and by this we should be seeing that TypeScript doesn't give us any errors or warnings. Okay, so with that saved, and if I now console log the properties, let's check if we are getting all the properties. Okay, and yeah, so now let's go back to the browser and let's see if we are getting all the different properties. And let's go to the console. Okay, so this is running into an infinite loop, so I just need to close this. Maybe I just did some error over here. So I forgot to pass in the dependency array. Okay, so that is the reason it's running into an infinite loop. Okay, so sometimes while I talk and type I make such errors, so I just start forgetting some things. Okay, so sorry for that. And let's give this an empty array, so which means that when we are rendering this page for the first time, it should call this function and not on any other change. Okay, so now let's go back and we should be able to see those properties. And I just need to restart my dev server. Okay, so now if I refresh, yeah, so there we go, we are now getting all the 8 properties that we have imported. Okay, so these are all the properties. So yeah, so I hope till now it's clear. So now let's go ahead and display all the property cards that we have like this. Okay, so in the form of a horizontal format. Okay, so now we have some work to do on the property cards component, so that it can also handle the horizontal layout. Okay, by passing its a particular prop, like let's say layout is horizontal, so it should show the cards in a horizontal way. Okay, so let's now go ahead and do that. So within the property cards component, we are going to receive another prop called as layout. Okay, so so this is going to be an enum type of either it's going to be horizontal or vertical. Okay, so layout, and either it's going to be horizontal or vertical, or it can even be null. Okay, so if you are not passing anything, by default it's going to be like horizontal. Okay, so sorry, vertical. So let's give it null. And now let's use a conditional rendering. So if the layout is set to horizontal, we are going to show this, else if it is, or if it is vertical, we want to show this, else if it is horizontal, we want to make a slight modification to the same component, okay, so that it will show in the horizontal manner. Okay, so let's collapse this and put a condition here saying that if like layout, if it is equal to, like let's say horizontal. Okay, I'm just getting a little confused, like what is horizontal, what is vertical. So this is the vertical layout which we were using on the home page, right? So this should be vertical, and if that is equal to vertical, then show this, else we want to show something else. Okay, so let us now copy this component. So now if I just copy and paste this over here, and we are just going to make some modifications to this component. Okay, so first of all, we are going to map across all the different properties right at the top, like so, and let's put this at the bottom. And after this, we are going to bring in the card. Okay, so the card component we are going to show at the top and put the CSS grid after the card. Okay, so we don't need this curly braces for the expression. And yeah, so apart from this, we are going to yeah, I think that looks good. So within the, we are showing a grid of, so on medium screen devices. Okay, so we are going to show the image on the left side, which takes in 1/3 of the entire card, and for the rest we are going to show the card content of this one. Okay, so we need to put this inside another column. So let's now replace this div with the column component, and let's give the props of for extra screen size. It should take in the entire width, and for medium screens it should take in 16. Okay, so that is 2/3 of the width. And for the rest of the content, we can just wrap in within the link tag from next link, and this link tag will take in href, so that will go to /property and then the id of the property. Okay, so for every property that we are mapping out, we are also getting the id, right? So we are going to create that particular property page in one of the next videos. So for now, let's pass in that, like let's say /properties / then the id. Okay, so this is going to be a dynamic string. Okay, so let's convert this to a template string. All right, so this should be property.id. Okay, so that's done. Now let's wrap this within the link tag and cut this and right below the closing tag, and let's paste that here. Okay, so this should be column. Alright, so that looks good. And now let's go ahead and see if we are okay. So first we need to pass in the layout, and as well as we need to render this component within our properties page, right? So let's go back to the properties page, and right below this select form, select input, or right below this form item, we are going to display the property cards. Okay, so property cards, and we are going to first pass in the layout. So this is going to be horizontal, remember. So we also get some TypeScript suggestions, horizontal. And now we need to pass in the properties. Okay, so these are the properties from our state that we defined at the top. All right, so that's done. Let's close up this, and yeah, so we are free from errors now. Let's test it out if we are getting all the properties. Okay, so there you go, how beautiful it looks. Yeah, because I made an error, okay, within the columns that I defined within my hand design. So I guess I made a mistake. So let's go back and try to rectify this. And we have this okay, so we only have one column. Maybe I just mismatched, I just this column has to come right below this carousel. Okay, so now it is having two columns, like so. Okay, so now we should be able to see the cards properly if I refresh. Yeah, there we go. And yeah, so we are listed out all the different properties, so we are done for the purpose of this video. And since we have already given the link tag, so this text is become blue, so let's change the color to black, sorry, color. Okay, so that looks good. We are getting all the different properties, and also there is a lot of duplicate code within our property cards component. So this content of our card is being repeated for both horizontal as well as vertical. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to cut one of these into my clipboard. And where does this close? Yeah, so we are starting with the link tag, and right above the link tag, so I'm just going to cut this and create another component, like we can just say card content or something like that. So function property content, something like that, and set this to a function which will return this particular component. Okay, so we need to wrap this in fragments first of all. And yeah, so now we just need to pass in the property. Okay, so it receives a property, and again this is going to be a type of this property. Again we are going to do some TypeScript annotations over here. So let's now first import this, sorry, not import, we are, since it's in the same file, so let's use a property content and then pass in the property. Okay, so property is going to be type property, and this property is going to have an object of property. Okay, so we are mapping right for each property, so this is the value for it, and this is going to be of type property, that is directly coming from property with images. Okay, so yeah, so that's done, and let's close this up. Okay, so and also let's replace this for the maybe the vertical layout, I guess. Yeah, so replacing this one with, sorry, not the entire thing, just from the card header, with the property content, sorry, property content. Yeah, and let's pass in the property. Alright, so that looks good, and yeah, we have refactored some of our code, and we should probably not be seeing any changes right now. Okay, so it still looks the same. Okay, so maybe we also need to add in some user experience, like adding a loader and also a button right at the bottom to load more properties, so that we do not make a long request to the database to fetch all the properties. So all of these features, we are going to do it in one of those next videos. So now let's remove this hero section from our properties page. So this doesn't look relevant to this page, so it should only be limited to the home page, right? So what we can right now do is go back to application, and within the header component that we built, okay, so we only want to show in this this particular hero section with the path name of slash. If it has a path name of slash, only then do we show this, else we do not want to show this. So we need to conditionally render this. So for that we can use a hook from Next.js, that is use path name. Okay, so I can just create a variable called path name and set this equal to use path name from, that is coming from next/navigation. Okay, so this path name will give us the exact path. Okay, so within our application. So for this for our home page, it will show us this path name as slash. So for the properties page, it will show us the value of slash properties. Okay, so now let's render this conditionally. So this hero section, if we want to show that if path name, if it is equal to slash, okay, so then we want to show the hero section. Okay, and we need to mark this component as use client, since we are using a hook from next navigation. So use client, and if I just go back to my application, yeah, so I do not see the hero section for now. Okay, so now if I just go back to my home page, and I should probably be seeing that. Okay, So let us, maybe this is not working, I'll just go manually back. Yeah, so we are seeing this hero section only on the home page. Okay, so now let's do the final thing. Like we can just link these properties. When we click on this, it should go to /properties and also over here, okay, of browse properties. So I think I missed out in one of those videos, so let's quickly do that. And also if I just go down below, you see that the layout for these cards are horizontal, because I didn't specify the layout within the home page, right? So let's also do that. And yeah, so let's go back to the home page and just pass in the value of, yeah, you will also get an error over here since we are not passing any layout, and set this to horizontal. Okay, so now if we go back, so this this should be vertical, and we should probably be seeing these cards as vertical right now. Yeah, there we go. And yeah, so now let's go back to the header. So let's wrap the button with the link tag. Okay, so that is coming from next/link and giving it a href property of /properties, and let's push the button at the top. And yeah, so now we should be able to navigate to the properties page. Yeah, there we go. And also let's do the same for this nav link of properties. Where is that? So link, okay, so looks like we have successfully achieved this. And also let's do the same for the logo. So when we click on the logo, it should go back to the home page. Where is the logo? So it's right here. So we can just duplicate one of these and push it at the top. Okay, so this should go to the home route. Okay, so now if I refresh and click on this, it should take me back to the home page. Okay, so that's just another thing which I forgot to do in one of those videos. So everything looks good right now. Also let's check for the responsiveness of this page. Okay, so whether we are getting a wrapped element for all these cards if we are on a smaller screen size. And let's open this up, and you see that the image is remaining at the top and the content is staying at the bottom, right? So everything looks good. And also let's check the same for the home page. And yeah, so you see that all of these are stacking on top of each other. So for some reason I don't see the sticky container class being applied to these property cards. Okay, so I just want this particular section to be scrollable, but I guess I made some mistake in writing the class name. So let's just check it out. So this should be sticky column and not scrollable column. So the scrollable column class name should go to the second column. So I just got confused between these two columns. So that's my phobia, I guess. So like, well, I cannot type properly when I speak, right? So I think that's the reason. And let's change this to sticky column. Okay, so I guess with that change is made, if I just go back to my application and refresh, I still don't see any changes. That's because I guess, did I make any typo? Yes, there is a typo. This should be scrollable column. Okay, so if I just save that and refresh, yeah, there we go. So we see that the outer container is not being scrolled. Okay, so the inner one, that is the property cards, so we have a scroll bar for that, so that we can have a look at the filters as well as the respective properties for the applied filters. All right, so that's the reason I designed in this way. Okay, so that's it guys for this video. I hope you liked it. I know it was a long and boring video, so it was just of we are building these cards, and it So we were just like, building the UI and stuff, so there wasn't much educational value, but to get ahead with this course we actually need to build all these, right? And more interesting content is coming up, okay, after this, so that you can learn in more features, like as I showed you in the demo. So we will all be building that. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so that if I post any video you can getting notified about that. And yeah, so I'll see you guys in the next video.